G'day guys, welcome to my blue heaven. I'm back. The bald old man is back and ready to go. And I mean ready to go for our big clash against our former co-tenants, our former brothers. Well, not so much brothers, but yeah, this game's going to be played on Sunday at the MCG. It's a far cry from Princes Park back in the late 70s, 1980s, early 90s, where we shared our ground with Hawthorn. And my earliest memories going to Princes Park back in the days when we first started going to football with my mum and dad and my two older brothers, I'm the youngest, was sharing that ground with Hawthorn. I never quite understood why this ground of ours was shared with another club. They had their own stand at Princes Park named after them, the Hawthorn stand. On their home games, they'd take over the Heatley stand end and have their cheer squad behind the guys at the Heatley stand end, meaning our cheer squad used to come to the wing or at the other end. It was all kind of confusing. And I didn't understand at all, and I'm from the west, that Hawthorn was in fact a very affluent suburb, Glenferrie, and yeah, they pretty much had to leave their little ground there in Glenferrie, a great little ground, because it was too small, and they were homeless, they needed a home, so we opened our arms up for them. And they came and they were co-tenants for a long time. And that's my memories of this football club. And we had some great clashes with them through that period. But I just thought they were homeless. And me and my brothers used to sing, "We're a happy team at Hawthorn," because we thought they were poor. And in fact, they're not necessarily poor, but yeah, that's what we used to sing. I'm feeling it. I really am. It's a far cry from how flat I was on Monday when I reviewed our heartbreaking loss to Collingwood. I think the flatness, when I really reflect on it, was around the fact that when you get so close in a big game like that against an arch rival, when you and the cynicism and the negativity in me, and I suppose that lack of belief, like I spoke about, which is somewhat become conditioned. When that gets a hold of you, you can only think of the worst, because it's a defense mechanism to think of the worst. But there was a tiny part of me that was when Gov was having that shot, just thinking about, how fucking good is this going to be? Like, how fucking good is this going to be when this sails through those two big white sticks, and to come from behind and to spoil their party and just have such a galvanising win. I was imagining it, and when it didn't happen, and to see them celebrate in the manner in which they did, I was just flat, very, very flat. More around the what ifs, and at the same time trying to be realistic of where our club is at the moment, and I suppose the poor patch of form we've been in, which when you really try and analyse it, guys, it's maybe it's not as bad as what it looks like, when you lose 4 out of your last 5, and the one that you did win was against a team that's just sort of nestled towards the bottom of the ladder, and we didn't play particularly well in that game, and they really challenged us. There is a tendency to really look at it and go, yeah, we're just not a contender this season, and it almost feels like a bit of a waste. And what are we essentially doing? Are we just making up the numbers? And the road ahead looks so hard. It looks just brutal. And yeah, I think that as well makes you a little bit flat. But I'm going to put it on the table right here, right now. And if you're a Hawthorn supporter jumping on this video, you switched on. And before I get to that, thank you to all the subscribers who continue to comment on this channel. 140 comments on my last video. And that's not me commenting at all. That is you guys commenting, and that is mind blowing. That is engagement at its finest. This channel does not exist at all. All right, I will just give it away unless I have that level of engagement. As I say, that just blows me away. So thank you very much. And not just the comments, but the level of insight. And look, for good reason, there's cynicism and negativity. But I think it comes from a good place. And I repeat, that at times can be just a defense mechanism for us, because it's very hard to try and search for the positives. And what are the positives that this club internally are holding on to for the last 3 games in the home and away season, first and foremost, and then potentially what can happen in September. But if you are a Hawthorn supporter, welcome. Appreciate you jumping on. Maybe you're a little bit intrigued. I rate your football club. I rate your team. It's not whether I like or dislike you. I mean, I'm a Carlton supporter, but I do appreciate good football teams, and I thoroughly enjoy watching Hawthorn play. I think you play the game in the right manner, and you've got attitude, good attitude. Your attitude is backed up with performance, but what I will say, and this is not disrespectful, we're Carlton are winning this game of football on Sunday. I'm steadfast in that. And that is not coming across as being arrogant or disrespectful to you. So go back through and have a watch of a video I did a couple of weeks back when we were going to play Port Adelaide, and I was steadfast in saying, and I'm generally go the opposite way. I don't generally say we will win a game. I generally, if I want to be steadfast, I say we're going to lose this game. And I'm not Nostradamus here, but the gut feel in that game against Port Adelaide, we would drop it. A game we expected to win. And sure enough, Port got over the top of us. But I'm 100% sure we're going to win this game. And it's not, I feel like we're going to win. It's not, I think we're going to win. We are going to win. That might sound ridiculous, but that's the way I'm feeling about this. And closer and closer we get to Sunday, I'm feeling it even more and more and more. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen the light or if I want to have a different outlook on things at the moment. And I really want to support our club. And if I can't support this club of ours and look at us, and we are unique, just like every other team in the competition is unique. That every club's got their great points and their negative points and the things they need to work on. And we are a very unique football team in the way we play, and at times a very frustrating football team. But I think most supporters for their clubs probably feel the same way until you actually win a premiership. And Hawthorn supporters would know. They've been there. They've seen dynasties, and now they're seeing the downside, but they're seeing a really quick rise. But there's no guarantees for this Hawthorn team, just like there's no guarantees for us. I want to use an analogy, and maybe there's some symbolism in this. And early this week, and this, I suppose the message around this, guys, is around patience. And that's such a hard thing to really try and get your head around if you're a Carlton supporter and you're asking people to be patient or expecting fans to be patient, considering it's been such a long time. And just when you think it has turned, it goes in the opposite direction. But I've had this nail, which has looked like that now for probably 3 months. I got it jammed in our sliding door out the back here. I was bringing some clothes in off the line after work, and I was in a hurry, and I didn't want the cats to get outside, and I was using my feet to kick them back in, and I opened the sliding door up, and I had the basket of clothes in one hand. I slid the door back, and my finger, and most of you would have had these type of injuries before. They don't appear to be, it's not like having a car crash or anything, or being knocked out playing football or breaking your arm. This was my finger getting jammed in the sliding door. It was sort of freakish, and it would probably never happen again with that same door, and I am a little bit more careful when I do close that door now. But that initial pain when my finger was jammed was... It's amazing, the small little injuries like that, the pain was excruciating. It lasted probably for 2 hours, the throb, and it immediately swelled up, immediately went sort of like a sort of a reddish colour. It started to bleed underneath. And I sort of likened it to stubbing your toe in the middle of the night in bare feet, or stepping on a Lego piece, or getting out of your car and nestling yourself between two cars and knocking your shin on a tow bar. And it's, I don't know, this fingernail's been like this now for 3 months, and I've just sort of looked at it every day, and I've been asked about it on this channel. You probably see it a couple of times a week. What's wrong with his fingernail? It's not nail polish. That's how I did it. I had two options here. Initially, because it looked ugly, and it continues to look ugly, and I continue to get asked about it, I could have gone and got the quick fix and just rip it off and start all over again. But in the end, it wasn't an option. I'd read about it, that it'd eventually grow out, but it wasn't growing out. It just continues to look like this. But on Tuesday, I noticed, if you just have a look there, guys, underneath there, the new growth of the nail has finally come through. It's been a really slow process, but it's finally come through. And it made me happy. It really did, that I could see, okay, my patience with this nail has finally paid off. There's still a fair bit to go. This is going to take a while before it eventually grows out. But I'm going to have the same nail, really, without stripping it right back and going, that whole frustration of starting all over again, and that being really raw underneath. And I don't know, I feel like we're so impatient, me included, with the football team. And Vossi's been here for 3 years now, and that seems like a lot of time to get it right. But maybe it isn't enough time, and there are still teething problems with this team of ours. We seem to run into similar problems when we aren't playing well. And I am looking at our last game against Collingwood, and I'm looking at the start of that game, how much we were on. And even though that game was really close in the first quarter, it was a pressure cooker finals-like atmosphere against two clubs desperate to win that game of football. I'm also looking at the middle parts of the game where we were lost and we didn't play well, but we kind of hung in there without letting the scoreboard really get away with us, although it did look at some stages there that Collingwood would run out to a comfortable-ish victory if it continued along those lines. But never in that game did I think the scoreboard got away from us, and we kept in touch, whether it was a goal here or there, just to keep them honest and to be able to regroup at three-quarter time, and through our leaders, who I think are really strong. I think we've got really strong leaders: Patrick Cripps, Sam Walsh, Jacob Wiedering. They're the three that have been in this sort of the core group of this leadership for the last couple of years. I feel like our leadership group are a little bit underrated. I really do. I think we knock them quite a bit, and when things don't go away, we start to question leadership. But I think they're really growing, those three in particular together. And sure, Sam Walsh isn't in the greatest form, and he will need to get back to his best if we are to start to get our mojo back. But you can't fault the leadership of both Jacob Wiedering and Patrick Cripps, and even Sam Walsh, what he was able to do in that last quarter as well. So for me, that's not the problem. I feel like we're really lifted. And even someone like Mark Pitnet, who, I'm not the greatest fan of, and he's going to come up against a really worthy opponent on the weekend who's just been super since he came across from Fremantle and then came into this team. When Ned Reeves went out, it's been a real surprise packet. I don't think any Hawthorn supporter would have expected the impact that Lloyd Meek has had. But that last quarter by Pitnet has to give him some confidence. I think what Pitnet has produced since he's come in, since TDK has gone out, has been well below what he is capable of. He has his deficiencies, but we have to work with him. His last quarter was really good in regards to just giving us first use, getting his big body in the way, getting that ball forward. So I think that was a positive. And I just think we ran the game out really well. And regardless whether we left it too late, regardless of whether we deserve to win that game, it almost for me is irrelevant now. I'm looking at that as a platform for us in this game against Hawthorn. And they are don't get me wrong, they're an extremely dangerous opponent with weapons, particularly forward of centre. I'm not buying the fact that they are this really young. They're definitely up and coming and they are building, but I'm not buying the fact that they're just super young. I think Mitchell's been really shrewd in what he's been able to do with this group throughout this year to keep them honest, to keep them really competitive. And he's almost, to me, stacked his back half, so his defence, which I think when they're not on, their defence really gets tested. So I'm hoping the fact that I thought that was the best performance by our midfield on the weekend for a period of time. I think, the combination of Cripps, Walsh, I don't think we lose a lot with Chera, although I thought some of the things he did when he was on was really good. But Kennedy, I think that for us goes, okay, is a chance now to let him settle into the midfield. Throw Hewitt in there, who I think did a really good job on Nick Dacos. And that's maybe a bit of a snapshot and him playing that run with role rather than a complete lockdown role, win his own ball, but just keep one of their more dangerous, whether it's John Newcomb or whether it's Day. I'm not quite sure which player he will be responsible for, but I felt like that's the best performance of our midfield, and it's been an area for us that I reckon struggled a bit throughout the whole year. Even in our wins, at times we were questioning our midfield. And the thing that probably is the weakness of Hawthorn is their backline, but it has been stacked with experience. So you look at it, Blake Hardwick, 27, 167 games. Sam Frost, 30, 179 games. Impey, 29, 192 games. Sicily, 29, 151 games. I think Jack Gunston's played a little bit down there this year as well. 32 years of age, 255 games. Jack Scrimshaw, we often think of him as still being very young, which he is. 26 though, he's played over 100 games now. And even the players on the periphery, the players that have really performed for him this year, they're not necessarily these sort of youngsters are going to drift out in and out of the game. Like Carl Amon, 165 games, nearly 30 years of age. Dylan Moore has nearly played 100 games now. He's 25. Connor Nash, he's just signed a 4 or 5 year contract. He's played 93 games, 26 years of age. Marbiel Child's been a great pickup. He's 27, 79 games. Luke Bruce, he's 33. I know he's been the sub. He's played 298 games. So let's not be fooled that this is a super, super young team. They've got a really good balance of experienced and youth. But I'm predicting not necessarily a midfield masterclass by us because they're very, very good in there. But I feel like we're going to be too experienced and too strong in the most important part of the ground, which is the midfield. And Harry and Charlie have been a little bit down. I reckon for maybe a month or so. I think they've had good patches. I think Charlie was really good against Port Adelaide, played that lone role really without Harry. But it's not necessarily that they're going to have huge days. I just think they're going to make a really big impact in this game. And I haven't been as disappointed, guys, in our in our small forwards. I know it's been a criticism of us, and you look at the small forwards of Hawthorn and the danger that they do pose with Nick Watson and Jack Ginnivan and Dylan Moore. It's some serious talent down there in regards to guys that are, and even someone like Connor McDonald and co who can hit the scoreboard. But like most things, it's about territory. It's about contest. It's about pressure around the ball. And I know they probably got some speed over us, but that comes down to who wins it first. And I just think we got it back. I think the loss on the weekend, it may have seemed a little bit pretentious when Gov missed that goal. Voss has copped a fair bit of criticism about his post-match speech, about a journey and being proud of the group. I'm not buying into that as much as a lot of other Carlton supporters are. I actually think that game, probably more than any other game, would have hurt. But I think it will bring them closer together than it ever has this year. Because they really saw what they were capable of when they were really under pressure in a game, and to get that game back on their terms against a really strong and worthy opponent on the night who were playing for their former skipper who was playing his 400th game, and they were pretty much at full strength with their season on the line. I'm seeing that as a massive positive for us. I really am, guys. I want to put a few players, if I may, in this preview of ours. And this isn't, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to chuck any player under the bus. This is about looking at them and going, okay, we actually need you. We need you to either recapture what makes you and I'll use that term that coaches use, the best version of yourself. I know Craig McRae uses that, but I'm gonna talk about a few players. Adam Sard's one. I think at his very best, I think when he was All-Australian as a half-back flanker or a back pocket player, defensively really sound and one of the best defensive, sort of fast, powerful, small defenders in the game, and there's no doubt he's going to have a huge responsibility on one of those smalls. I would like to see him get back to that best. I think that the role has been blurred a little bit. What do we want necessarily from Adam Sard? He's such a great asset offensively. I think when we're up and about, he's fucking brutal as a defender. He needs to lift. Simple as that. He needs to really lift, and he would know that. I think Jordan Boyd's another one who's come back, and Alex Chincotta. I would really like to see them a little bit similar to Sard, and I know we need that offensive run if the ball is in our back half. But you can do both. But the overzealousness, is that a word? Of Jordan Boyd, he seems to be caught between a rock and a hard place and has lost a fair bit of his confidence. And the role of Alex Chincotta, if he's going to play as well, has become a little bit blurred as well. So they need to get back to what makes them part of this blue collar backline, and that's just fucking hard players to play on. And I think the offensive stuff will look after itself once they build their confidence on beating an opponent. So what I mean by that, if Jordan Boyd, for example, is responsible for Ginnivan, okay, and he goes up the ground, okay, he follows him, and then he comes proactive with his offensive play from there. But whenever Ginnivan comes back past the halfway line, he locks down strongly. He doesn't give him time and space. And he works from there, because I think they're getting caught out a fair bit, our small defenders, and it's been an area of concern. So they're the three players: Sard, Ginnivan, and also Chincotta. And I think I put the heat on both Charlie and Harry. They're a lot better, and it's one of the most difficult positions to play when you're a key position forward. but they're better than what they've shown. And we want to see that energy. I'd actually like to see Charlie play further up the ground. Now, whether that's spending time on a wing, whether that's spending time as a high half forward, we know he's got a decent engine, and I know we take a fair bit away deep when he's not there. I'd actually like to see Harry start a little bit deeper, because I think Harry might be better equipped at this stage to be that lead up from the goal square, because I think he hits the contest a little bit harder than what Charlie does. So they're two players as well. And then I think the growth of our younger players, I think we're still waiting for that real breakout game from Ollie Hollands. I think he's been serviceable and he's been important with his run. But if we can get a real breakout game from him on that wing, that would really help with us moving forward. I think his brother's been super. I would like to see him, and I'd like to see Fogarty, and even at times I'd like to see Jesse Motlop given more responsibility around the ball. I know Elijah plays as a high half forward, he comes up to stoppages, but why not mix it up a bit? Why not keep the likes of Sam Walsh, Patrick Cripps, and I know they're the centrepiece in the middle of the ground. You need them in there because they're so good. But I feel like we rely on them too much. So we need to start giving these players, have a little bit more faith in the likes of Fogarty and Motlop and Elijah Hollands at centre bounces or on the ball, just so we can keep our I suppose our top-notch A-graders a little bit fresher than what they are. So when the heat comes, we're not looking as gassed and as looking as tired. You know what this means. You really do. When I make a call like this, that we will win this game of football, and I mean win it. Okay, I don't know the margin. I don't know if it'll be comfortable or be close. Of course, is it close? I'm going to be nervous, but we're winning it. I've never been more confident. And that's staggering considering where we're at the moment and what's on the line. But I've never been more confident in our team winning a game of football than this. You know what it means? It means the eggs will be released if we don't get the job done. Anyway, speak soon and thanks for your time.